Coming up here on Celtics Today by Chat Sports, I have two kind of spicy topics to talk about. Number one, the latest report shows, well, Brad Stevens might have tried to make a move in the offseason that we weren't aware of. We're going to break that down here in the first half of the video. In the back half, we got to address Drew Peterson. He is coming out of nowhere, the two-way player, making a splash with the minutes that Joe Mazzulla is rewarding him with. And he could be a very influential piece for the Boston Celtics to go back-to-back. But before we jump into those topics, we know the Boston Celtics dominated the Miami Heat last night. But I wanted to give you guys a quick little injury update because, yes, while we dominated the Miami Heat, we also did it without Porzingis, Horford, Holiday, or Hauser. The good news is that all of their injury reports seem to be disconcerting. Kristaps Porzingis, now Horford, we know they did this a lot last year. They tend to rest and not really play back-to-back games. Drew Holiday just sat out with some knee soreness, and then Sam Hauser was out with personal reasons. So they all should be hopefully good to go by Wednesday for Detroit Pistons versus the Boston Celtics, which I will be live for right here on Celtics Today by Chat Sports. But let's go on ahead and jump into the latest spicy news here out of Boston. And that's that the latest report shows the Celtics possibly try to feel out the trade market for Jaden Springer at the end of the preseason. We had always kind of known that if the Boston Celtics were going to make a trade this season, it was going to be Springer, as he is probably the least influential player for Boston to try and be repeat champions here. But I didn't think Brad Stevens was doing it at the end of the preseason. I mean, Brad Stevens, he does like to move in very mysterious ways, but Brad Stevens, he's always got something up his sleeve. And when you look at a guy like Jaden Springer, it does kind of end up making a little bit of sense here. But let's go ahead and break down the latest report that's coming out of HoopsHype and hear what they have to say about this situation. Following a strong end to the preseason for Lonnie Walker, remember him, the Celtics gauge a trade market on Jaden Springer, league sources told HoopsHype. Teams across the league hope to pry future draft pick compensation from the Celtics for taking on Springer's $4 million salary. That's what sources said. However, Boston wasn't interested in giving up future draft capital to move the 22-year-old former first-round pick, the luxury tax penalty that was going to come with him with signing Walker the fourth, obviously, as we did end up waiving him after the preseason was over as well. And then they went on to say that that would have been the 15th spot. They were ultimately too steep for Boston to retain him into the season. So these are all things that we kind of already knew about Lonnie Walker and Jaden Springer and their futures and how they do sit with Boston. But overall, Brad Stevens was like, maybe we can get something back here. So if he wanted to trade away Jaden Springer and maybe get some draft compensation in return or what it was, but overall, the luxury tax is a little bit too big for Boston to really make any moves right now this season. But this is kind of letting me know that Springer's done. Springer's pretty much done in Boston. This isn't, breaking news or anything. I don't think Jaden Springer had a future in Boston for a really long time, but we thought he was going to have a bigger role. Why? Because, Brad Stevens traded for him by the trade deadline last year at the buzzer. So you thought there was maybe something going on there, but he really hasn't proved to be any bit of a needle mover, a needle pusher for Boston ultimately. You just didn't really need to trade him in season either, because when you're dealing with this luxury tax bill, there's only going to be so much you can trade for and trade with. So if you're going to get rid of Jaden Springer, it looks like you're just not going to re-sign him at the end of the year. And now Springer, unfortunately, may just have to sit on the bench for the rest of the season and maybe waste a year of his NBA career. Or maybe not. You never know what Joe Mazzulla and Brad Stevens like to cook up. I mean, heck, look at Drew Peterson. He's making a name for himself right now. We're going to hop into that in just a moment. But when you look at a guy like Springer, the reason why I say he really hasn't been a needle pusher for the Celtics is because look at this. He's averaging less than 4 minutes a game. And what's even worse is that two-way player, rookie, two-way player, second-year player. This is a multi-year player making $4 million a year sitting on your bench. In my opinion, I kind of hope Joe Mazzulla ends up figuring out a way to incorporate Jaden Springer into the ballgame so you're not just paying $4 million for nothing. because you already tried to gauge a trade market and see what you could possibly get out there for Jaden Springer, and then you found out it wasn't going to be a lot, so now he's sitting on your bench taking up a lot of money that's possibly putting us over the tax line? Interesting. Very interesting in my opinion, but overall, it looks like Boston's not going to re-sign Springer. This obviously isn't a report. There has been indications that they're not going to re-sign him, but he's averaging 3.5 minutes per game. They tried to already trade him at the end of the preseason. It's not looking good for Springer and his future with Boston, but I will tell you this. It does make you wonder about Lonnie Walker. Because you look at a guy like Lonnie Walker, who is he's a very good basketball player. Not saying Springer isn't, but it just goes to show you how competitive the NBA is. Because now Lonnie Walker is playing overseas while Jaden Springer is making $4 million a year to sit on the bench. Must be nice to be Jaden Springer. But this is just my opinion and what I'm seeing right now from the Boston Celtics. And it's showing me, look, they're probably not going to keep Springer around. So I want to ask you guys kind of the same question. Do we think that Jaden Springer should stay in Boston? Type Y for yes, type N for no. Let me know in the comment section down below. I'm obviously going to go no, but I want to hear y'all's thoughts in the comment section. So go on ahead and comment that down below while I tell you guys real quick about our sponsor here on Celtics Today. I'm talking about Prize Picks, the #1 daily fantasy sports app in America. I play Prize Picks every single game day, and actually I more recently won $400 playing Prize Picks. Oh, yeah, baby. How'd you do that, Allie? Well, all you have to do is just pick more or less on a player's projected stats, and you can win up to 100 times your money. So that's exactly what I did. I picked 4 players during Sunday's football games. I think I went 3 more, 1 less. I just put down $45, and I won $440. So if you guys want to play something like that, it's super easy to do so, and it's also super accessible. You can actually play Prize Picks in over 30 different states right now, including Cali, Georgia, Florida, and Texas. So if you guys want to go ahead and get started, test out your skills. It's just you versus you, and you can join over 10 million active users who are playing right now as well. Just download the Prize Picks app. Use promo code CLNS. Use promo code. Once you do that, you're going to get $50 instantly when you play your first $5 lineup. Download the Prize Picks app. Use promo code CLNS. This is going to give you guys $50 instantly when you play your first $5 lineup. Prize Picks. Run your game. Let's talk about Drew Peterson. He is coming out of the woodworks and just splashing in and out on defense and on offense. And he's proving the Celtics are so lethal, they don't even realize how dangerous that they are. Peterson making a name for himself in these last 2 ball games. I want to go ahead and show you what he has done against 2 very good teams in the Eastern Conference. Let's start with the Cleveland Cavaliers. This is when he got his career-high minutes in the NBA. He played 25 minutes on a random Sunday against the top team in the Eastern Conference. Joe Mazzulla, a basketball psycho. He went 40% from downtown, 2 for 5 3-pointers made, 4 boards, and 8 points. And you're thinking, okay, Jaylen Brown didn't play, Derek White didn't play, maybe that's going to be it. Wrong. He comes back against the Miami Heat, 26 minutes. He plays 1 minute higher than he did against the Cleveland Cavaliers. He went 40%, 2 for 5 from the 3-point line, 7 boards, and 7 points as well. Once again, this is not the Washington Wizards, guys. He played against the Cleveland Cavaliers, and he played hefty minutes against the Miami Heat. So why now? What is happening here? And if you're asking that question, well, thank God Drew Peterson's asking the same thing. Obviously, every time I hear Drew, I assume that it's Drew Holiday, which makes a lot of sense. They were pointing at me, and obviously it's my job around here to stay ready. And so I got in and just did whatever I could to stay ready and whatever I could to help my team win. Sounds very familiar, doesn't it? Tends to be the motto of the guys on the bench. But he said it felt good. I was a little caught off guard, but quickly adjusted and did everything I can. And you love that from Drew Peterson. He's a two-way player for the Boston Celtics right now. But my question is, why now? Boston's fine. Boston's 17-4. He played against the Cleveland Cavaliers, the team to beat in the Eastern Conference right now. And then the head coach that we all know and love, he gave a very simple answer right here. Joe Mazzulla wanted to reward Drew Peterson for putting in the work, for showing that he can play at the highest level. And wouldn't you want to play for a coach like that? Or let me rephrase that. Wouldn't you want to win for a coach like that? That sees your ambition, that sees your hustle, that sees how much work you're putting in and day out, and he's on a two-way contract, which means he's putting in 10 times the work to try and make a standard contract in the NBA. And sometimes Joe Mazzulla even surprises us, the fans. And I got a text from Coop, who actually works here with us, going, "Who's Drew Peterson?" And I'm like, "What?" He's like, "Who's Drew Peterson?" I'm like, "He's a two-way player for the Celtics. He's going off against the Cavaliers." Going off, but playing a lot. And then Joe Mazzulla kind of answered why he wanted to play Peterson. He said, "Look, I thought he had some really good defensive possessions, defending without fouling. He was physical. He's smart. He has a knack for the ball, whether it's offensive rebounding or moving without the basketball to get open. And I think he works really hard." So you try to find moments throughout the season where you can validate the work that the guys put in, regardless of who it is, whether it's Jordan, Drew, Jaden, JD, those guys. And he said, "So I just felt like he's had a really good reps lately, and I thought he put us in a position to help us win." And unfortunately, they ended up losing by about 4 points, but you did that despite Drew Peterson's efforts. You can't tell me you don't love Joe Mazzulla. You cannot tell me you don't love Joe Mazzulla. This is the type of relationship that you want between a player and a coach. This is what you try to establish in a franchise that is as successful as the Boston Celtics are. And then I wanted to add one last quote in here because I just thought that this was just who Joe Mazzulla was as a person and as a coach. But after they dominated the Miami Heat, Noah Dalzo, who I adore her reporting, she's fantastic. Go follow her on Twitter. She tweeted out what Joe Mazzulla said after the Miami Heat win and why he doesn't tell players that they're going to play in advance. So when Drew Peterson really heard his name against the Cleveland Cavaliers, he did a double take because he's like, "Me? I'm going in?" I just feel like if you give a guy an idea if he's going to go in or not, it changes his preparation on a daily basis. Imagine you get that call at 9 a.m. Do you know how many times you're going to poop throughout that day because you're so nervous? But imagine you're on the bench and all the excitement's already there and you already see the team needs you and they point you. You need to go in. He's going to come in and not have so many thoughts in his head. I love this strategy from Joe Mazzulla. If you're only ready to go because you know you're going to play, that doesn't really help your process. No, it doesn't. Seeing what you need to do helps your process. I love this from Joe Mazzulla. And I really have liked that Drew Peterson said, "Look, my name was called and I'm going to do everything I can, not just for myself, but to help my team win." And that is why the Boston Celtics are the best team in the NBA. And you just can't tell me anything different. Do you want more Drew Peterson minutes per game? Go on ahead and spam 13 in the comment section. In case you guys didn't know, that is Drew Peterson's number. Spam 13 in the comment section. And as always, be sure to hit that subscribe button. Guys, we are so close to a milestone, 42,000 subscribers. So we need 58 more subs. I hope that there are 58 of you that watched this video that liked what you saw, and you guys can go on ahead and help out this channel. But as always, go Celtics. I'll be live tomorrow. Pistons versus Boston. I'll see you there.